Pay your bill in-store or online at www.thecable.net. Sign up for the Cable Platinum Loyalty Card today and get more. Terms and conditions apply.
Yeah, we're ready. All right, so and we're back. We're back. Can y'all see Mr. Springer? Mr. Springer, Springer, can you hear me?
Hear you loud and clear.
Awesome sauce, man. Awesome. Good to hear you. So, we're back. So, Vernon, you're one very experienced individual when it comes to sports. Where did this love for sports begin to take shape? Where and when? The two W's, where and when?
One must give it to your parents. Your parents are instrumental in everything that form part of your life. My mother and my father passed away, and these two were the main engine behind anything happening concerning sports. In fact, I will give you one or two quick stories.
Sure.
My father played some cricket, used to work at the St Kitts Bottling Company Limited for a number of years. My mother was a school teacher. She had her own school in the yard. And my uncle, Carl Brazier, the football coach. I grew up in the village, as we would consider to be Hinsmith village.
Okay.
Tudor Descent was my coach. My mother used to take me to Warner Park, look at football, and to also look at cricket. And so it was always a merry-go-round to be able to go in all the time, because my mother was always going with me. We used to walk from the village to Warner Park. And we had to get there within a particular time, because the games in those days used to start at maybe 3 o'clock in the afternoon. My mother would leave home at a particular time and would have me scurrying at Warner Park. So I grew up in the village more or less as a track and field athlete, played cricket, played football. In fact, I can remember some of the days where we used to have races on a grammar school pasture. And you had situations where we used to have goalpost to goalpost races. The gentleman by the name of Juni Somerset, a classmate of mine, they used to call Mustang. And I was the smallest person among them. Folks used to come and bet. In those days, 10 cents, 25 cents on the afternoons. 100 meters goalpost to goalpost. Sometimes I win, sometimes I lose, but that really was the highlight. So my real love for sports, I have to really give credit to my mother, and my late mother, and my father, and mainly my mother, who really engineered me into getting into the aspect of sports and pushed me all the way. It wasn't good in terms of making the national team in cricket or football. I played club football for Superstars, played cricket, played a lot of softball cricket, ran for Washington. In fact, in those days, it was what we considered to be Bastia Junior High School, which is WASHI, which is Washington Archibald High School.
Right.
Also went to the Bastia High School. My sports was driven by my mother and mainly my uncle, Carl Brazier, late Carl Brazier, and the Tudor Descents. And so you go up in that background where that's all you knew about. Instead of going to school, sports was just your life.
So I want you to take us back to a monumental moment of triumph that sticks out in your memory. It could be that race that you didn't think you were going to win, or that game that you just hit those sixes or whatever. Like, what sticks out in your memory?
One of the things that sticks out in my memory was getting an opportunity to play. In those days, you could call it not division, but first division football. For Superstars, Village Superstars, and then you had the likes, the late Euclid Hanley and Henry Brown and Winston Sargent. Those are the guys who were around the club. Even though I asked a fan, I could remember those days getting an opportunity. It wasn't a full game, but I got a piece of game, and that will always go down in my memory for playing, as you would say, first division football in St Kitts and Nevis. And the other aspect for me really in my life was I became a professional cricket coach, journeying off to England in an opportunity. I first started as a trainer,
okay,
because everybody was playing. I could remember going to Warner Park. All of us was playing cricket, but nobody was getting anybody fit. So I got into the mix and say, hey, guys, I'm going to be the guys that are going to get everybody fit. So I used to go around. In those days, I'd go like Clem Hicks, one of my coaches who I work with in the ministry. Then you had the late Edgar Gilbert. Then you had the late Elvis Star Brown. And then we had Noel Gishard, who I go to become as one of my real partners. So I started a program really by trying to get young cricketers fit.
Right.
So that was my real first taste of getting involved in cricket. And then from there, I branched off by learning and reading a lot and got into the coaching side of cricket. And I will say to you, my brother, never look back. My first opportunity I had was with the Leeward Island senior team as a trainer. Those days, Ricky Skelett was not president, but secretary of the Leeward Islands Cricket Association.
Right.
I got an opportunity to be able to be the trainer, you would say / coach, the Leeward Islands team for a game played against Barbados. In fact, in that same particular year, Richie Richardson made his debut right here at Warner Park in St Kitts. And I could remember Sir Viv sitting me down maybe on day 3 of the game and asking me if I ever thought about going off to England and, setting up myself to become a coach. I told him no. And he helped propel that opportunity for me through Tony Bowley, who is a resident England and is from St Kitts and Nevis from Newtown. Galvanized some support and got me going. Elvis Newton, Granville Jacobs from Antigua, Anthony Rollins, Elvis Monarch of Garrow. Those are the guys who will be able to get together, cut a committee together, because in those days I was coaching Newtown Cricket Club, organized the support. Ricky Skelett was the managing director of Dealing Warren and Company Limited. And my first stint, National Insurance, National Bank, got me off and I went to England. I got a passive credit. I was one of the first black men from the Caribbean to go to Yorkshire Cricket School in England, get a passive credit. So you can imagine the first opportunity in England, going to a coaching course, Ralph Middlebrook being my lecturer at that time. And in fact, I'll say to you, I went to the most racist area in England, Yorkshire. And when I went to Yorkshire in that period of time, it was a year in which Richie Richardson also played for Yorkshire during the period of time. So there used to be some comparisons. People used to say, you kind of look like Richie Richardson. And I used to kind of brush it off. So I used to go to coaching with my white floppy hat. Richie Richardson used to come to play with his maroon floppy hat. So you'll understand in terms of what's happening. But for me, getting a pass with credit and being able to be an opportunity to coach in England at Yorkshire Cricket School, where all of the children wanted to come to my lane where I was in. That to me was the highlight, one of the highlights of my coaching career.
Let me tell you something, right? Your memory is impeccable. You're just ringing off names like you just read them on a paper right now. Like, I can't even talk about those names from 10 years ago. Like, I can't ring off. And you're talking donkey years ago. You're just ringing off all these people. Yeah, this is your life, man. Good job. But I want to also ask, we spoke about mental health earlier. How did you deal with moments when you felt defeated? When you lost, when you expected to win? What were your coping mechanisms during those moments?
Well, to be honest with you, the concept of my mother is that I couldn't lose. As if I lost a race or my school lost a game, I wouldn't hear the end story and I would be almost to a point where I was pushed and punished. Sometimes my mother would let me know what time of day it was. So I came up with a sort of kind of winning attitude in my concept. In fact, I could remember when I went to England for the first time, my mother sat me down and gave me a serious lecture. I'm going to tell you something that is going to be mind-boggling for you, right? First time going to England. So, sometimes you don't want to follow your parents and you don't want to listen to what your parents saying.
Right.
My mom said to me, I needed to dress up myself, meaning put on a jacket and a tie. And I said, Mommy, England, man, I just be on my jean pants and my blazer and can put on ice green and gold belt, my jean pants. Well, lo and behold, NOT, I got to England. I got held up, right? I was embarrassed in OT. Tell my mother that I got held up. Well, she didn't have to tell me that the second time around. I told her about 2 weeks after what had happened at Gatwick International Airport because they really skinned me out. I can remember I got there, you're looking like a Rastaman and you feel like you're challenging, you got these light green and gold colors. And I was pulled over. Over in a good way, and even though I had all my documents and XYZ and so 2 weeks after I told my mom in terms of what happened, you know what she told me? I don't want to hear a thing from you. They should have locked you up. So for me, mentally, that in itself was also tough. And then my mother also prepared me for going to England because we would have had families in England and we would have heard so many stories about going to England, Black people going to England and the expectation of going to England. So I was really mentally prepared. Like I said to you, I was going to one of the most racist areas in England, Yorkshire. And I really had to be, back in those days, we didn't have cell phones. I used to have to write my mom letters. And my mom always used to be giving me an update in terms of the newspaper clippings, clipping them out from St Kitts and sending them to me. So it was almost like a continuous weekend thing. Right. Every week I had to got a letter from my mom. I had to write a letter to my mother in terms of what I was doing.
Wow. Where was Facebook when you needed it? So, I mean, you spoke earlier about coaching, and I want to know, you were able to influence the lives and careers of young people. Who stands out in your memory that you can say that, you know what, I am definitely proud to have been a part of that athlete's life, especially seeing their trajectory towards success? Anybody that stands out?
My coaching career has been mixed to the point that the only thing that I feel sometimes when I look back at my coaching career that I was not able to achieve along with Noel Gishard, some of my other coaches, that St Kitts was not able to produce a test player based on the caliber of players that we brought through. You had the Garrett Matthews, you had the Steve Leiberts, you had the Juni Mitchums, you had the Codville Rogers. You got an abundance of talent. The Shane Jeffers, the Elroy Powell, name it. And that group of players, when I look back sometimes and I sit back in my own little quiet time, I say to myself, oh, when you look back and you see Kyron Powell, who came through that period of time, played Test cricket, Lionel Baker in Montserrat, who came through that period of time, was the first Montserratan to play Test cricket. You look at the talent pool that we have, even Alden Oje Maynard. Oje, sure you wouldn't even know that. I'm going to stun you now by telling you Oje was one of our young cricketers that we had. When I look back at that talent pool, it's that all who was around based on when they came through. And not one of those guys went off and played cricket. Kind of stunned me, and I keep asking myself and searching myself to ask myself some questions as to why our players have not made it based on all of the resources that they would have had in St Kitts as compared to our sister Isle Nevis of lesser facilities have continued to produce from Tomida Willett right down to Kyron Powell, still producing more and more players. So one of the things which hit me and got me involved into administration, becoming a journalist, was to be able to deal with all of the egoistic people that happens and think about what happens between St Kitts and Nevis. There's a common ground, because instead of we get together, St Kitts and Nevis, and make sure that we get something going, we continue to fight against Nevis. At the same time, the investment that is made by St Kitts, we have nothing to show for all of the investment that we've made by upgrading and hosting of cricket events by the pinnacle of producing a test player. You have like the likes of the Jeremiah Louis and Kevin Swartz and Hakeem Saunders and all of these guys there. We never really came up with a solid support system to say, this is how we're going to get a test player. And to this day, that still haunts me.
Oh, I'm so sorry to hear that. So sorry, I can relate to some of those sentiments, and I'm going to transition a little bit to something that shouldn't haunt you. I'm going to talk a little about fatherhood, because I must admit, outside of Altonia, I'm not privy to any of your other children. So that being said, did any of them take after you in sports, and how did fatherhood affect or enhance your your career in sports, whatever it was, journalism or being active in sports?
The period of fatherhood would have been tough for me because when you're trying to make a name for yourself, there'll be sacrifices and some things get left behind. You have Tracy Willock, I show Mac, she's known. Tracy Willock Springer, a female footballer in St Kitts and Nevis, who's also a coach. You have Noah Springer, that's my son. That's a young man who's the captain of the Newtown team, who would have run track, represented St Kitts at cricket,
Nice.
level at football.
Nice.
Then you have Zabeda Springer. Zabeda Springer is a young entrepreneur, has her own academy, is also represented national team at netball at the youth level.
Wow.
So something has rubbed off, and I don't give credit to myself. I give credit mainly to my mom and my dad, because like I said to you in terms of what's happening, my stepmother, Isilma Springer, and on the mix of Isilma Springer, I have a sister by the name of Lynn Morris Springer, who I'm pushing now to get into the administration of sports. In fact, she served in the St Kitts Cricket Association, is on the Atiba Harris team. Will be coming up for the elections.
Right.
Coming up, and we'll be competing against the Dan Grant team, the St Kitts and Nevis Football Association president elections. So I'm earmarking the legacy in terms of the Springer tradition to continue. My brothers, Marcy Stapleton, who has a bar over at Frigate Bay. Marcy was easily one of the top footballers in St Kitts.
Wow.
And Nevis played for a period of time. So our family is really brought off, and my nieces and my nephews, trust me, they have the passion, Alquan and them, the passion for sports.
Nice.
So the sports administration aspect is not short.
Mm-hmm.
And I could remember when my mom passed away and my last daughter, Zabeda Springer, sang at her funeral. I could remember when I went to give the eulogy on behalf of my mother, I always said one thing. My mother always reminded me and told me that before she passed away, she said she don't want to cry at her funeral. So I always remember that. She always told me one thing: Springer legacy has to continue for a very long time. And so what I'm doing is that when I get maybe in about another 20 years, when I'm in my rocking chair, I can be able to feel real good to know that, hey, the fruits are being born. I feel impressed when I know that Tracy is now getting into coaching. My son is now getting into coaching. Antonia is not a sports enthusiastic. Antonia is a model. Antonia is a businesswoman.
Right.
Antonia is somebody who organizes events. So she takes a little bit off of me. That's her drive. That's her passion. In terms of going to play sports, better call the other three.
To be honest, transition, we still keep it on the home front because, even though you're in Antigua, home is where the heart is, right here in St. Kitts. And we would have seen some concerns with regards to the support for our athletes being voiced by some of our athletes, most recently Jason Rogers. And I want us to talk a little bit more about what you feel can and should be done so that these athletes can feel the support they need. So let me play devil's advocate for a second. Back in the early 2000s in track and field, there was an outcry for the lack of a training surface. And this is one of the reasons why they said, or we were saying, we weren't seeing more world-class athletes coming from St. Kitts. And fast forward to now, where we can boast of not one but two surfaces between St. Kitts and Nevis. One could say that was support and lament on what more they would need to be able to train well. So, I'm just playing devil's advocate. Why do you think that there is a sentiment that they're not getting that support? And what do you think from a holistic, all of society approach? What do you recommend we can do so that our athletes can feel more supported?
Let me ask you one quick question, Inoti.
Go ahead.
Who's the sportsman and sportswoman of the year, St. Kitts and Nevis? You know those two individuals?
I see where you're going from here.
Okay, so that's the first thing. You can't have a nation, independent nation like St. Kitts and Nevis. You don't have a sports award for your national athletes. Let me repeat. You cannot have a nation, independent nation, just produced world champion boxing, world champion athletics, We were once netball champions. Comida Willett was the first player from Leeward Islands to play Test cricket. Andrew Weeks was the first umpire from St Kitts and Nevis to become a Test umpire from the Leeward Islands. I can go on and on. Noel Gishard, my teammate, completed a double regional first-class cricket. I can go on and on and on. A Commonwealth champion, a world champion in Kim Collins, and at the peak of his time, in 2012, the London Olympics. To this date, the National Olympic Committee cannot tell the world why Kim Collins didn't participate in 100 meters in the Olympics. So, if we look at governments, past, present, future, have all invested in sporting facilities in St Kitts and Nevis. The finest sporting facilities.
Yes.
Corner Park is going to host
CPL. Right.
which happened under Glenn Goes Phillip in 2014, because some people want to rewrite history. Oh, we don't need to rewrite history. It was because of the investment of the day of the government, St Kitts and Nevis, that helped us get lights in Warner Park, propelled us to hold CPL matches in 2014. The point now, 7 years on, St Kitts and Nevis Warner Park will host all of the Hero Caribbean Premier League matches. So that's an investment in facilities. The Kim Collins Athletic Facility, which at a point in time, just to show you the level of respect and how we care about people, was named the Silver Jubilee Stadium. Thank God, world, that you could produce a world champion and a Commonwealth champion. You have your only track and field facility, and you turn around and name it some Silver Jubilee something. Something that nobody really know about. Right? We give it some name from Europe, rather than recognizing and understanding what contribution that Kim Collins made. August 25th. I think it's now, Inoti, we promised that we're going to name that day after Kim Collins. Coming again. It's coming again. But we have no respect. We have no respect for Comida Willett or Kim Collins. For them to be named national heroes. Then we talk about going forward and how we bring some good news. We've been going to the Olympics. It really irks me. After going to the Olympics for well over 20 odd years, we're still having a debate as to who is supposed to support our Olympians, our future Olympians. There must be a clear pathway set aside where we know that Inoti, when he wins an Olympic medal in 2024, he's going to get a piece of land. He's going to get 50,000 US winning that gold medal, 25,000 for silver, and 10,000 for bronze. So there's a clear pathway. Here we how the pathway is being planned out. There has to be a partnership between the National Olympic Committee of St Kitts and Nevis and the government of St Kitts and Nevis.
And so the private sector.
Everybody is on board.
And the private sector.
What I'm saying, the framework has to come from the NOC and the government.
Fair, yes, fair.
And when you get the framework from the NOC and the government, then you can go to the private sector. Because you can't go to the private sector without a framework.
Fair.
You have to have something in place. Because all of this, government has to be able to endorse and help the private sector to say, if you're going to give Inoti a car, it's going to be duty free.
Fair.
We can't just get up and say, we want a car from somebody. We don't know. So there has to be a planned pathway.
Fair.
Bearing in mind, we're talking about national sports policy now for how long? But we're paying lip service to sports because we have figureheads who have titles, don't understand sports is a $1 billion industry. If sports is a $1 billion industry, then we need returns on our investment. That is why we had Athletics Canada training in St Kitts and Nevis, the Kim Collins Athletic Facility. You know what happened out of the partnership in OT? Built a gym.
I remember.
Royal St Kitts Hotel. Right?
I remember.
Brought equipment from Athletics Canada, which included ice baths and weights and everything else. And other equipment. That is what you call in OT, and in a partnership in terms of how you want to be able to come up with a medal.
Yeah.
National Olympic Committee of St Kitts and Nevis has no pathway planned to how they're going to get a medal. On the other hand of that, we have no recognition for our sportsmen and women in St Kitts and Nevis. Ministry of Sports, in the meantime, they honor their junior athletes. Nobody wants to step up to the plate, decide that they're going to honor the senior athletes. So you realize where we are? At a point in time, when I was host of the Inside Sports program on WINN FM 98.9, FC, the private sector in St Kitts and Nevis, demonstrating, in fact, the last winners were Virgil Hodge and Kim Collins. You know where the ceremony was held?
Where?
Right downtown in the KFC, right downtown in the KFC store, the KFC outlet in Bastia. Thanks to Colin Richards and his staff.
Aww. Well, I like that again. The private, I like the private sector partnering with that, because I strongly believe. So look, take for instance something else that you're involved with is Calypso. Did you see what happened this year in January? Did you see that Gloria, who won the Monarch crown, not January, February, on the 14th of February, they held an award ceremony. They literally held an award ceremony for the different categories, different subsections of Calypso that we didn't even think warranted that type of recognition. And it felt like a whole Oscars atmosphere. People were happy to be recognized. So then Calypso then became something that was beyond placing at the finals. You got something more than a recognition for participating. You got recognized for excelling in a particular area. That was done through private partnerships. It was done through individuals coming together saying, you know what, this is what we can do. It wasn't done. They could have been complaining, saying that this should have been done all these years, but I like to see when people are a part of the change that they want to see. So I want to salute
the organization who put that together. I think you would have to say that Esdale maybe would have ignited that with the woman power of being the first female to win.
Exactly. She brought everybody. The song "We're All in This Together." She brought that together.
But even though we're all in this together, sometimes I think some people are still being left out of "We're all in this together." So that's another discussion and another time.
Yeah, exactly.
You know that my brother, Vinay Sousup Johnson. You know, we go way back. You know, we've been in this thing for about 15, 16 years. That's another discussion on another day. I don't have enough time tonight to deal with that aspect here of the Calypso. We'll get back to that in another discussion. Maybe by the time we get to 100 program.
No, man, I have Calypso to talk about in a few minutes, but, you know, we're still talking about support, you know, with athletes. And when we look at what happened with Sha'Carri Richardson, and you're seeing what support looks like. You see what support looks like in the face of adversity. You're seeing, again, the private partnerships are coming to her rescue. So her association did her dirty through the eyes of many, but now she's rolling, man. She's rolling in some nice dough. So who's winning? You know,
the athlete will always win. Again, like I said to you, Inoti, if we don't have a clear-cut plan, nobody's going to get up and buy the concept of supporting sports. We must have a planned pathway. The National Olympic Committee of St Kitts and Nevis plans that in the next 3 Olympic cycles, they want to be able to get their first medal. They want to achieve to be able to win, let's say, 3 medals.
Yes.
Capita. And the private sector will buy into that.
Right.
And if there's no clear pathway, nobody's going to buy into anything.
I 100% agree.
Yeah. Let's look at Atiba Harris. Atiba Harris is the first professional footballer from St Kitts and Nevis to play in MLS. Played for about 16, 18 years, 2 decades. Why no other player from St Kitts and Nevis got an opportunity to go into the MLS and play? Do you think, Inoti, there's another Comida Willett out there? There's another Gillian Musgrave Archibald out there? There's another Kim Collins somewhere out there? There's another James Barman Hanley somewhere out there? There's another Trevor Marty Huggins somewhere out there? Do you think those persons are in St Kitts and Nevis as we speak? If we don't have eyes to identify those talent, what do you think is going to happen in? We produce boxing champions in OT. Roy Gums. We produce some of the finest world boxing champions, Livingston Bramble. That's how big St Kitts and Nevis was. We continue to dominate the world stage. We were Caribbean netball champions. We were ICS football champions. You name it. We were volleyball champions. Everything landscape that we could talk about, St Kitts and Nevis has punched above its weight and it's been there.
Right.
What has actually happened that our administrators are paying lip service, and not only paying lip service, they have exhausted their ideas. They can't come up with anything else. So they've run out of ideas. They have no energy. They can't find anything else. They don't want to move away and give people like Dr. Garfield Alexander and company an opportunity to come in and change the landscape. No, they still want to hold on to the position. So you know what it's like? It's like the retirement fund, where they just go into an area and just these associations and bodies, control it and keep out people with talent.
Well, I want to give a big shout out to Mary Sierra and Grammy Brown for what they're doing. I am still going to be pushing for that private sector injection. What they're doing is they have this organization or business called Fit Camp Recruits, and they're assisting to get some of our athletes scholarships, and they literally just signed one last week. One of those guys, I've forgotten his name, who ran at the NACAC on the 23 challenge, he has a scholarship now to go to school, and they've gotten a bunch of different athletes, and they're going to continue to do that. So we need to see more persons like that, and we need to throw our support squarely behind people who are taking the initiative to be a part of the change that we want to see. And I think that there's strength in numbers when we have more like-minded people thinking about being a part of that change. You will see a movement. That's how things are working now.
That's part and parcel also of sports media. That was one of the main reasons why, with my push and my business partner, that we've been able to really propel sports media to a different level.
Right.
Because that is going to be one of the aspects that I'm going to be taking on. Where, for instance, we try and get young athletes to get an opportunity, young cricketers from St Kitts and Nevis, and in fact, the wider part of the OACS, go as far as to Australia, to the US, to South Africa,
nice.
Be able to play cricket. And that's just one aspect of sports. I'm not just limiting myself to cricket, but because I'm specializing in cricket and cricket has made me see the world. That is one of the areas that we're going to be thinking about. But we're also going to be extending that to athletics and to football.
Nice.
So you're going to hear in a lot more of vast sports media. I also want to take some time out because this journey has not been easy, and to be able to salute a number of folks, private sector businesses in St Kitts and Nevis who are supporting me on this journey. And I'm talking about vast sports media, NA Roofing, that's Aaron Archibald in Keon, Development Bank of St Kitts and Nevis, Royal Logistics, Colin Williams and his entire crew, Island Auto Supply, Seymour Williams, Uncle T, as you know, is my uncle, Jabo, in Market Street. Those are the people that are pushing me from a standpoint in St. Kitts. In Antigua, where I'm based for the meantime, I'm just setting up vast sports media, iMobile Vision Care, AG Morgan. You would see tonight that I'm wearing a AG Morgan sponsored shirt for my program, so you would understand in terms of what's happening. My spectacles and my glasses are sponsored by iMobile Vision Care.
Okay.
Cool and smooth. Won't be able to talk to you without provider. And it is my provider in Antigua and Barbuda.
Nice.
And to complement that, to power all of what is happening here, Lady House Power Farm and Lady Mix, those are the people that are behind me to be able to push me. When as you were talking about pathway, and you're talking about support system, I have a support team behind me, be able to make sure that new heights that I really want to go and execute, I have support systems in place. And so now, it's for my turn now to be able to make sure I can be able to look after the young boys and girls, not only in St. Kitts and Nevis, but in the wider part of the OACS and the wider part of the Caribbean.
Lovely. You're paying it forward. I like what you did there. And I know I was going to talk about Calypso. I'm going to leave that for another time. because we're just close to the end of the show. But what I wanted you to finish before we go to our rapid fire session with your words of wisdom, final words of wisdom from Vernon. Talk
How much
to
time we
us.
have?
We have just about 4 more minutes. So take 2 minutes to talk about the wisdom, and then the last 2 we'll talk about the rapid fire, and then we're done.
Quickly I can't complete this interview without saying thanks to Clive Bacchus.
Yeah.
Clive Bacchus and the late Michael King, a couple of years ago, well over nearly 20 years. WINN FM is maybe about 18 heading down there. Remember, I was in the park and Clive Bacchus came and said to me that he wanted to have a meeting with me at WINN FM. I said I didn't know where WINN FM was. When I turned up at the meeting, it was Michael King and Clive Bacchus, and they said that they wanted me to read sports on WINN FM. I will say to you, Inoti, I haven't looked back since that time. I've had the privilege of representing the region as far as Brazil, Australia, as a sports journalist, teaming up with people like Michael Bascom. I want to thank also Joseph Red Spurrier, because he played a really huge part in my own research development. Nevis, Almond Descent, and Steve Manners, those 2 guys would have tremendously helped me, along with Carlisle Powell. So I receive a lot of support system in place to be able to help me to go to that next level. I just have to make sure that I get in this interview.
I like that.
In terms of the wisdom going forward, don't be afraid to ask questions.
Okay.
Don't be too proud to seek help. No one has it all. No one knows it all. In the end, we all need each other. You have to accept your past without regret. Handle your present with confidence and face your future without fear. I really want to take some time out and salute my business partner, because I would not have been able to speak to you there from Antigua and Barbuda without this journey. The journey of even where I've reached. I also have to compliment working for West Indies and the Leeward Islands Cricket Board. One person in particular believed in me, and that's the president of the Leeward Islands Cricket Board, Enoch Lewis. It will be remiss of me not to salute Enoch Lewis, because he would have been the person who would have energized and given me that opportunity when everybody else didn't feel that I was good. He believed in what I was doing and said, hey, I'm willing to take a chance and take a gamble on you. All the critics, all the folks who have made me great in terms of my point. In fact, as I speak to you, Inoti, I also co-host a sports program on Point FM in Antigua and Barbuda, from Monday to Friday.
Wow.
And so that's given me another platform and another opportunity. And as I speak to you, I've got my own podcast, which just goes from strength to strength. So you'll be seeing more exciting things coming out for the rest of 2021 and beyond.
Nice. I love it, man. This has been an amazing, just story-filled discussion, and you're a man of wisdom and a man of experience. And we normally would finish with rapid fire, but I'm going to have it a little bit different this time. I'm going to ask you 10 questions about the predictions for the Olympics. Just 10 questions, actually 9 of them. So, all right, you ready? Number 1, who's going to win the 100 men?
Jason Rogers is going to place.
All right, number 2, who's going to win the 100 women?
Well, Rocket Pocket.
Rocket Pocket, all right. All right, who is your sleeper in the men's 200?
No, that's a little ticklish one. It's up in the air.
All right, sleeper in the women's 200.
Again,
up in the air. All right.
Shelly-Ann Fraser could be.
Oh yeah,
contention.
That's true. Even though she's short. All right, who's gonna win the 400 man? The 400. 400.
400. Yep. Rai Benjamin.
Rai Benjamin is a hurdles man. The 400.
Yes, but hold on. Rai Benjamin is who I'm backing to in the 400 meters hurdles. The 400 is that is going to be tight. I leave that for you. That's your expertise.
Okay. Number 6. Make an argument to put Alison Felix in the 4x4 relay ahead of Ating Mu and Dalila Muhammad. There's no
Alison
argument.
Felix.
All right. Number 7, 400 hurdles. Who you got, and and will the world record go again?
Right, Benjamin is gonna break the world record.
Wow. I don't think he's gonna win. Anyway, number 8, 4 by.
No, stop. So you know I can put you on the spot. If he doesn't, who's gonna win? You're back.
Carston, man. It's not a matter of backing. I'm backing right, but Carston is the world record holder right now.
No, all right. Leave that. I leave it there.
I'm going with who has run the fastest time in history. That's who I'm gonna put my money on. But yeah, right has Antiguan roots. So okay, I see what you did there. All right, number 8, 4 by 100 women. Who you got? It's big Jamaica. Yes. All right, number 9, USA basketball. Will they win gold?
No.
And number 10. What's the best part about being on the show?
The best part about being on the show is I brought some good news. You allowed me to be able to bring some good news. So I'll bring some further good news from Antigua and Barbuda where I'm based for the meantime. Just to let you know, there'll be a new year-round service launch coming from Orlando International Airport from Frontier Airlines. Low fares done right for our customers. So you see the good news what we're talking about?
Wow.
More air travel coming to Antigua and Barbuda, and some of that might spill off to St Kitts and Nevis.
You just never know. But we gotta go. So thank you so much, Springer, for a wonderful show. And I just want to remind everybody, to continue to spread love and to be kind. We'll see you guys next week for episode 51. Up next is Latin Twist. We're going to be listening to Latin music and dancing and moving and merengue and everything, all right? All right, later. Bye.
More and more cable customers are getting their cable internet package upgraded for free.
I paid 3 months and I got upgraded from Flash to Bolt. So now I'm actually paying less for more.
Yes, up to double speeds and savings of up to $200 per month just for using your card to pay your bill.
I had this Bolt package, then I got this platinum card and I paid my bill with that. They have upgraded me to Strike, which is almost double the speed now.
All it takes is a little loyalty. Use your Cable Platinum Loyalty MasterCard to pay 3 consecutive cable bills.
I was upgraded from Flash to the Bolt after paying my bill on time for 3 consecutive months, and I'm now enjoying the free upgrade.
To keep the upgrade, just continue using your Platinum Loyalty Card to pay your cable bills. Pay your bill in-store or online at www.thecable.net. Sign up for the Cable Platinum Loyalty Card today and get more. Terms and conditions apply.
We're different. We're 98.9. 98.9. WINN FM.
Protect yourself from the novel coronavirus. Wash your hands thoroughly and frequently for at least 20 seconds each